So now we're in the C3000 setup screen again, and we're going to go ahead and set up our implement. So we don't have any implements in here yet, so we're just going to hit either the plus sign or the over arrow. Both will get us to the same spot. And we have different options. If you have a mounted planter, that's what this one is. Second one, if we click on that, that's a pivoting. So your 88, your 8500 series planters, even if it's a semi-mount planter, if it's back behind the tractor and it pivots behind the tractor here, you want to do that. The rest of these are out front. We won't actually use them hardly. If you have a tow between cart, you may end up using that. Let's go back. We got our pivot, green check mark. Okay, it's going to have to be restarted once you finish this, so we'll hit the green check mark. We're going to name this. I'm just going to erase this all. You just keep pressing or hold it down, it'll erase it all. I'm going to name this an 8812 because it's a 12 row. Green check mark. Alright, so now this screen you want to make sure you get right. You have your new implement setup window. So the first thing is the implement control. We need to push right here, and we want section and rate control. We're controlling both of them with the C3000. Next, hit the yellow arrow over. Now our ECU type, push here. The ASC10 is going to be a TopCon controller. Isobus is, we're bringing this up through the Dickie John Isobus controller, so that's what we select. Our implement function, we're a planter. Alright, so now you're 100% done. Just click to save, confirm it. It's going to restart your C3000. Yes. Okay. So now, if we hit the over arrow, we're going to leave this ECU screen for a second. You'll see that it brought in our channel width, or our implement width, 360. Go ahead and click here once, because you'll see that you cannot set it. All that data is coming in from the planter side. The one thing that it will not bring in is this measurement, your C measurement, which is from the drawbar to your seed tube. Now this one already knows that the planter is behind the tractor, so it's going to be a positive number. So 120 is what we put in that last one. Make sure and don't put negative, because you can actually select in this window whether it's front or back of the tractor, so make sure and just put positive. Let's go ahead and hit the next screen. You'll see that it also brought in our sections. So you're just verifying this. I think it'll make a little bit more sense now what we did in that section setup. Our section 1, 60 inches wide. It's 2 rows. 2 through 9, 30 inches wide. Each is just a single row. Section 10, 60 inches wide. You have 2 rows there. So really no changes that can be made. Next is our timing. So you have your on time and off time. When you adjust this, a good place to start is your on time to be about, we'll say 1.5 seconds. And your off time about 0.8 seconds. And what this means is the controller is going to see that you're going into a planted area, and it knows exactly when your seed tubes get to that planted area, and it's going to try shutting it off right there. Well, we're saying start shutting it off 0.8 seconds before you ever get there, because you still have seeds in your seed tube. And one thing about it being a time, and this is pretty much industry-wide, make sure that when you're setting this that you're going the exact same speed every time when you're looking at your on time or your off time. So when you're going into your headlands, if you go in at 5 miles an hour, go into the headlands at 5 miles an hour every time. And then leaving the headlands, if you always leave at 4.5 miles an hour, make sure and do that at 4.5 every time, because that's going to change when the seeds start dropping out of the seed tube or not. And that'll have to be adjusted with the customer to make sure you don't have gaps or skips. Next thing over is our virtual switch, or our switch box setup. Now this is just another possible way of shutting rows off manually. We already have that 6-section manual switch box, so I wouldn't recommend setting this up, but if you click here, you'll see that you can select the virtual switch box, hit check, and just like we did with that other one, you can select how many switches you want and which switch to control which section. We're not going to go through setting that up. Let's go back through and hit none. Okay, let's go back to the ECU. Just verify that everything's still right on here. Let's go back to the guy down here. That'll bring us into our main planter screen. Everything is now set up and ready to plant.